What's going on, Team 3DMJers? Eric Helms here. Welcome to Believe Episode 6. This is me sending in my check-in at the 12 weeks post-season recovery point, where I'm feeling pretty damn well recovered, to Brian, my coach, and his response. This is pretty cool. I talk about basically how things have been going, and then he also gives me a response. In my check-in, I do show him a visual of how I'm looking at the 11 weeks post mark, which is pretty similar to how I looked the week afterwards. So this is a check-in I did on 12 February on Sunday, 12 weeks post-show. And Brian did a cool thing during his response where he put side-by-side video up and pictures of how I looked in my 6 weeks post-season check-in versus my 11 weeks. So you guys can see the body weight changes and the body composition changes and just the visual, and get your thoughts on that, because I think things are going pretty well. But I'll shut up now and let you see the check-in. Brian, what's up, man? Just getting my my check-in while I'm getting some steps. It is a beautiful day here in Auckland, and I'm just going down into a nice park you can see here. Good little walkway, and it's kind of a contrast coming back from France, where it was like 0 to 4 degrees in the morning. Now we're Celsius for you Americans, and now we're in the high 20s, which is just perfect weather. So anyway, a little bit lower audio quality. Apologies for that. That's the one downside to doing it while I get my steps. So as I do this check-in, it is 11 weeks post-season, and I've completed 9 weeks of training, with 2 of those weeks being the weeks that I did on my own, the 6-day per week program, before we got together and did your program. And on paper, if you look at my spreadsheet, Brian, you'll see I've done 7 weeks of our program. But I completed day 1 and 2 of week 7 before I went to France. And then while I was in France, I did 5 days of training. And then I came back and just picked up on day 3 and just completed that, because I left midweek. I left Tuesday night here in New Zealand, and I got back Wednesday morning the subsequent week. So, and Wednesday's an off day for me. So I just picked right back up, and I did my Thursday, Friday, Saturday session. So, yeah, I've basically done 7 weeks, but that with the caveat that 7th week was split between 2 different weeks. Things have been going really well. Steady progress across the board. Sometimes it dips down, then comes back up. But I've been getting a lot stronger on everything. And I've been really pleased with my ability to handle the amount of work we're doing and the volume, and still keeping myself really training at the target RPEs and hitting a lot of sets to failure. And I tell you what, man, I really do feel like I'm making visual progress. My body weight is still climbing. I'm eating 25 to 2,600 calories. And that's probably fluctuating day to day from anywhere from 23 to 2,400 up to like 28, 2,900. And the average is probably coming out to around 2,600 on average in the last few weeks. Obviously, while I was in France, I was eating a lot more, but I was also getting it was like double my normal steps. The weight gain is still a little faster than you'd anticipate based upon the calorie intake and my size and activity level and training high volume 5 days per week. But I think you'll see when you see my check-in that the amount of body fat I've put on since my 6-week post-Worlds check-in, 84 something or 85, and now I'm basically I'm 86 right now. It's clearly not all body fat. I still have quad separation, arms, delts, all that good stuff, abs, and even a little bit of hammies. So now I'm actually more confident. I was like, okay, I think I'm gaining muscle. And I think that's why the rate of weight gain has been a little bit higher, but it looks good, man. So I really do feel like I'm making gains. You'll see that. But yeah, hamstring, it's 100% back. Might have been indicative that we brought things up in terms of, volume and effort all at once, and still had some recovery to do. But honestly, given how minor it was, we didn't change anything. I don't think anything went quote unquote wrong. Honestly, I think the volume wasn't the issue. I think I surprised myself with how strong I was on RDLs during the recovery phase. That first session I did with 170 kilos was like right there next to a lifetime PB. And that got me so excited that I just kind of went like, well, let's push the load up on RDLs. And I think I should have been more conservative. Anyway, training's progressed really well. It is still progressing across the board. Some of these numbers I'm hitting are pretty damn close to like all-time bests ever. Like legs and arms, I think, are what I'm noticing the most with as far as the growth, which is funny. Those weren't necessarily like top of the list, but those are the ones that have probably had historically higher volume and that are now, they probably had some historic regrowth to get. So perhaps that's part of what we're seeing. But I also think there's more fullness everywhere. And I don't know if anything needs to change right now, man. The program is really good. It is challenging. I don't know that anything needs to change necessarily. I think personally, I feel like there's much more to milk out of this. And even though my rate of weight gain maybe is a little faster than intended, I do think it's going to keep naturally slowing down if we stay at this target intake range. I handled Paris really well, which makes me think my food behaviors are fully recovered. And as far as recovery, 11 weeks post-season, libido is I think fully back. I won't get into the personal details as to what informed me to that, but some of my normal solitary male behaviors have resumed. That's back. Sleep's back. The only thing that I would say is lingering is I enjoy food more than I would at higher body weights. And I don't know if that's a body weight thing or just a time thing. But yeah, I would say the only thing remaining from like full 100% recovery is I'm just slightly more interested in food than I have been historically. But it's certainly manageable. I haven't had anything even approaching a binge or the desire to, and I haven't really felt too restricted. I'm just, I could eat more at dinner and after dinner, and I'm satisfied after meals, but not full. But most of the time, it's not something I'm thinking about or craving anything. I would just, if I wasn't bodybuilding, I'd probably eat a little bit more. So, yeah, that's it, man. Thanks for all your guidance, and I'm looking forward to continued progression. And I think in the next Believe, I might just show people what my eating looks like. I've heard the cool kids do a full day of eating. So anyway, thanks for your time, Brian. Take care.
What's up, Eric? Hope your week has gone well so far. Just checking in for this last month. And I think the biggest thing for this past month was working around the hamstring strain. And, you did that beautifully. I think with the BFR, it's always a good reminder, actually, the utility that has in situations like this. So, it sounds like we're back to loading it normally, and, strength is pretty much right there. So, be cognizant of it moving forward, but, I'm optimistic that this is behind us. So, physique wise, I couldn't really be any happier than what we're seeing here. About a month apart between these two. You definitely look fuller through your upper body, delts, your chest. I know that was an area of emphasis. On your back poses, I see it. And, some of this obviously is going to be like increased fullness as we settle into the off season, but there has definitely been some new tissue added here. And, despite the timelines that we had put in place, kind of aiming for the 88-ish range, a bit later in the year, the fact we're not there yet, but we're going to get there before we had intended, and that's not a bad thing. I think it's easy to look at that and think we're gaining too quickly, but this is exceptional. And one way to look at this is, 10 to 12% over stage weight, where we normally want people starting prep. That's somewhere between like 86 and 88 kilos, which you're right there. And I think we would both agree this is somebody being ahead of the game to start a prep. So you're in an excellent spot. And so I think we need to look at the bottom line and prioritize that over, the rate that we were initially aiming for. So we'll keep riding this wave. I don't think we need any changes on the dietary front. That mid 2000 range, I think, is serving us well. And I'm sure the trip to France was a nice break, some added flexibility there. And then obviously with the training being pulled back just a little bit, probably served as a nice kind of reduction in volume to some extent. And I think that recharged us a bit to keep pushing with this training block. So no real changes. I think we just stay the course. I know sometimes it's easy to want to make changes, and in this case, it's yeah, the right thing to do is to just keep doing what we're doing and keep doing what you're doing. So, I think we're both very pleasantly surprised with, where we're at this stage in terms of body comp alone. And I think it's only going to get better in terms of, progression on the muscularity front as you continue to fully recover. It sounds like we're not quite there yet, but it's very, very close. And so I think this momentum is only going to continue to build. And the fact we've been able to maintain this through, a minor injury, I think is excellent, because it's easy to, when things like that pop up, it's always easy to let other things slip. It's demotivating, obviously, but you kept structure in place where you could, and I think that's really commendable and something that a lot of people can learn from. So that's pretty much it, man. I'll leave it at that, but just keep doing your thing. And I think whether or not you compete in 25, we can cross that bridge later, but at this point I think we're in a great spot to just continue to gain and reap the benefits of being in this surplus for a sustained period. So enjoy the rest of your week, man, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.